Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Horns Report here on KXAN Plus and KXAN.com. Thank you so much for joining. I'm your host, Billy Gates, and we've got a jam-packed show for you today. Before we get to our special guests, got to remind you, if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe, KXAN News. If you're seeing this on our website, thank you so much for using KXAN.com, and you can find a full replay of this shortly after we're finished here. And if you're watching us on our connected TV app, KXAN Plus, on your Roku device, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, some Samsung TVs, depending on, what kind of TV you have. Thanks again. You can find this archived there as well. All right, well, now that's out of the way, let's introduce our guest. As always, KXAN Sports Director Roger Wallace is with us, and a special guest from the Third and Longhorn podcast, and Longhorn legend himself, Alex Okafor. If you're not a Longhorn fan, you don't know who this guy is, then, probably stop being a fan. So thanks so much for coming on with us, Alex. Really appreciate you. Let's start with you. Just kind of. How did you get involved in the Third and Longhorn podcast, and how does that help you stay connected to this program that you were so great at playing here a decade ago or so?
Yeah, so I know for me, there's a couple of guys that I stay in close contact with around town, and that's the panel of Third and Longhorn, which is myself, Fozzie Whitaker, Jeremy Hills, Derek Johnson, and Rod Babers. We've all stayed relatively close post-playing career, and this production has been in the works for a couple of years now. We've always wanted to have a platform, a media presence online where we could just talk Longhorn football. The goal of the podcast is to kind of peel the curtain back and give fans an inside look to locker room conversations and how ex-players or even current players speak about the Horns and speak on the current team. So that's basically the product we're providing, and we're having fun doing it. Like you mentioned, it keeps us close to the program, keeps us close to the sport, and it gives us something to do and scratch that itch post-playing career.
Yeah, you're also part of our Texas Game Day pregame show last year, year one. You're going to be back again this year. Simple question, Alex. How did you do in your predictions last year? Is it weird making predictions as a former player?
Calling him out just immediately.
So I came in second place in the predictions last year, and I want to say Jonathan ran off with it in first place. But he got to choose from an unbiased standpoint, so it kind of benefited him a little bit. But I will say this. Predictions are tough, and it's the worst part of the show to me. I love talking the nuances of the game, but putting an official score on it is difficult.
Yeah, that's always uncomfortable. But all joking aside, though, that pregame show is great, and we look forward to it again. And I imagine that's another outlet for you to kind of look through a different lens at a football game coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the fun part about it is I get to be analytical with it. So it's not just at home talking to your family and friends. No, I get to dive into the stats, dive into the numbers, look at the matchups, look at the opponents, and really give an honest breakdown of the team, and that's what I have the most fun with.
Right on. Well, we love listening to you, man. We definitely loved you having you on the show last year, and obviously this year is going to be great. Let's talk about that for a second, Roger. Can we give folks sort of a sneak preview of what this year's Texas Game Day is going to look like? It's going to be a little bit different than what it was last year.
Yeah, and it'll look similar this first week with the Longhorns on the road. It'll be at 10 a.m., 1 hour before kick on KXAN. The big change is going to be when the Longhorns are at home, they're moving Texas Game Day to Bevo Boulevard, so it'll give you that Texas Game Day feel an hour before kickoff. So there'll be a lot of commotion going on, and that'll add some extra elements for Alex and the guys to deal with. But I think it'll be a great way for fans to get even more of a feeling of a Texas Game Day. You think about, obviously, the national shows, and that's once, maybe twice a year. It might be in Dallas, might be on the road. But to have all the home games covered the way that you guys are going to be on campus, I think will add an extra flair. And obviously, Alex, starting off at Ohio State, and what a matchup for college. It's funny, Sark says, I don't care about the polls. Obviously, he doesn't. But he cares about college football. And this game for college football is huge Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing treat for just football fans around the nation. What's crazy about this game is both teams are so eerily similar. So when you look at it, both teams are trotting out a new starting quarterback. Both teams lost a first-round offensive lineman. Both teams lost a second-round defensive lineman. Both teams lost a first-round wide receiver. These teams mirror each other so much, not to even mention the game in the playoffs last year. So the fact that there's all of these factors going into it, and we get the 1 versus 2 in week 1 of the regular season, as a football fan, this is all you could ask for.
Yeah, first time it's ever happened in the poll era, and the poll started in 1935, something like that. First time the top 2 teams in either poll, either the coaches or the Associated Press top 25 preseason polls, have met in the first game of the season. And obviously, as we know, this game is on the road. It's at the Horseshoe in Columbus. I want to play this bite from Coach Sarkisian from his press conference today. This was earlier Monday. We're recording this about 3 o'clock on a Monday. So this was Steve talking about just sort of their process of preparing for road games and really how well that his Longhorns have played on the road. So here's Coach Sarkisian.
Naturally, it's a tall task. We've talked about this at length before the season, but we've got a tough road slate this year, and this is the first one of a few to come. And so it serves us good to have to go on the road early, find out about ourselves, find out where we're at as a program, where we can improve, and where we can continue to get better, because we're going to travel more than any other SEC team this year in our conference. And so this is a great opportunity for us to go do that. Naturally, we believe in our process on the road. We've won 11 in a row on the road now, and they haven't been easy. They've all been very difficult. Going on the road is tough. But this is going to be a heck of a matchup for a great environment against a really good team who's really well coached, who's had a ton of success.
So there you have it from Steve, just talking about how they approach just games on the road. It's like, us against the world kind of mentality. I thought it was interesting, and Alex, maybe you can speak to this as a former player. Last week, he basically created game week for his team as sort of like a mock week to sort of get their body clocks in the right sort of frame of mind, get them in the right mindset. I mean, is that kind of the stuff that you guys were doing as well, or is this sort of like a new approach from Steve?
No, that's what the great coaches do. You have to imitate a week 1 scenario, and that comes with preparation, that comes with the way you play, that comes with play calling as well. You have to replicate all of those scenarios, and it sounds like that's what Coach Sarkisian did, whether that's replicating the schedule for a week, whether that's simulating the crowd noise at practice, whatever it is, you got to get these guys ready to play and firing on all cylinders heading into week 1. So it's not a wake-up call that first game, so that we know what to expect. And it sounds like that's what he's doing.
Yeah. It's funny that he said, Alex, that maybe they need to bring the crowd noise for home games because they seem to be a little bit more locked in with pre-snap issues on the road than they are at home. It almost sounds like they've got the ability to be so laser focused that whole road mentality doesn't get to them and might actually heighten them a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a crazy scenario to say, but it's true. And I think a lot plays into that. First of all, when you play at home, there's a ton of distractions, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's actually dealing with school and the campus, all of that type of stuff. When you go on the road, like Sark said, it is a us against the world mentality. You're flying over. You're in a foreign part of the country. It feels like, hey, my back's against the wall. I need my best performance now. And that's what we've seen from this team in the past.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty wild to think about all the games they've dropped on neutral sites, but it's kind of crazy to think about that road winning streak, true road games where they're in somebody else's backyard, hostile environment. Everybody tells them how much they suck, how much they hate them, and they've been able to win 11 games in a row like that. They won in the Big House. Mm-hmm. They won at Bryant Denny in Tuscaloosa. Yep. They won at Kyle Field last year. So it's just one of those things where, why not go up to Columbus and win in the Horseshoe against the defending national champs, against the team that eliminated you in the college football playoff last season. This game, it's all kinds of storylines.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And the games that you listed out is why I'm confident in the Horns this upcoming Saturday. When you look 2 years ago going to Tuscaloosa getting the job done, when you look last year, another early season opponent with Michigan, we go into the Big House, handle business there. finish off A&M at Kyle Field last year around Thanksgiving. This team has experience going into hostile environments and getting the job done. And that's what excites me about our team heading into Ohio State this Saturday.
Yeah, we talk a lot cliches, Alex, but a lot of time they're cliches because they're true. And one I know you love is defense travels. Pack the defense. You're talking about a team, not just 3 first-team All-Americans preseason. We know that doesn't mean anything other than they've got a lot of talent. But what do you like about this defense for Texas this year? They made all the changes in the interior through the portal, but those guys on the edge, an Anthony Hill who's can play anywhere. What do you like so much about this defense?
What I love about this defense is you have impact players at all 3 levels. So when you look at the defensive line, when you look at your edges, you got Colin Simmons, who is one of the best pass scrimmage, and you see Trey Moore on that other side. I don't know if there's a better pass rushing duo than what we have here at Texas. Then you look at the linebacking corps. You got Anthony Hill, who you could say is probably one of the best defenders, period, in the country. Not just linebackers, but defenders, period, in the country, and has some pass rushing ability as well. Then you look into that secondary. You get a vet signal caller like Michael Taft. You get a lockdown corner in Manny Muhammad. Then you get an up-and-coming guy like Jalen Gilbo and Jelani McDonald's filling in those holes with Derek Williams coming back from injury. We have impact players on all 3 levels of this defense, and that's what should excite you as a Texas fan.
And that kind of brings me to my next question, Alex. I mean, obviously, you're a defense guy. Those 4.5 sacks against Oregon State we talked about. I'll never forget that. Anyway, sorry. That's the last time. That's the last time. I promise, man. When you look at a guy like Colin Simmons, you see just this freak athlete, right? And then once he gets into the University of Texas, once he gets in the Longhorns kind of system, how good can this guy be?
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen his development from day one. He was an impact player for us as soon as he stepped on the field. But you see him now getting more comfortable in the flow of the game. It's not necessarily just bringing him in on 3rd and long situations. It's now we're keeping him out there on all 3 downs. He can help us in the run game. He can fit right, set the edge for us. But then now on 2nd and longs and 3rd and long, he's already comfortable and warmed up and can get off that ball like he's shown. What you love about Colin Simmons is that he is so slippery. I think that's his best ability as a rusher. He's great with his hands, but his slipperiness is what makes him elite. Whenever he dips that shoulder, it's hard for offensive linemen to get hands on him. It's hard for O-linemen to get that low. And you see him use that length, that leverage to get around the block quickly and impact the quarterback. So I think Colin Simmons is one of the best rushers we've seen since Brian Arakpo, and he needs to put it on display for us this season.
Yeah, I think of a story, Alex, that Will Muschamp told us, your old defensive coordinator, going to go to the secondary, and Earl Thomas, one of the best safeties at the college level, at the pro level, but he gave so much credit to Blake Gideon because he said Gideon did so much on the back end that allowed Earl Thomas to kind of do his thing. Is that also, you mentioned Michael Taft as a signal caller, just what's the importance of having that guy that can maybe let other guys play a little bit more freely?
Yeah, and as a secondary, there has to be communication. Whether you're disguising coverages, you got to get everybody on the same page. Whether you're flipping or swapping coverages, there needs to be on-point communication in the back end. And the fact that we have a veteran back there that can line people up, especially when you have a young secondary, you need somebody that can take command, that can get the signal, put people in their place, know exactly what everybody is doing in every scenario. That's what you're getting from Michael Taft. Not only that, he's an impact player himself. He's not only a signal caller, but he's coming down in the box laying the boom. He's getting deep in his cover too and breaking up passes. Not only can he line other people up, he can line himself up and make plays. And to me, that's the truest description of a leader and an impact player.
And I mean, just his story, right? I mean, he started out here. He's a hometown kid from Westlake, won some state titles at Westlake, but had to walk on at Texas, right? And then just, didn't get to play a ton, but he put the work in. And he's one of those stories that it's like, man, like if you want to show, like in this NIL transfer portal kind of era, like if you want to show a young kid what's possible for, when you're starting out as a freshman not playing, like when you want to tell them like what's possible, if you put in the work, if you put in the hours, you show them Michael Taft. It's one of the greatest stories I think of this season is his ascent to being the All-American defensive back that he is.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you hit on. TAF is the perfect example of what happens when you commit to the program. And that's what NIL's done. I'm glad these guys are getting paid at the NIL level, but they have to do something about the portal because guys are jumping in and out on not even the yearly basis, on the semesterly basis. So TAF is the perfect example of what happens when stuff gets hard. You know what? I'm going to stay where I'm at. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going into the portal. I'm going to commit to this program. And at the end of my 4-year run, look at the player I've become. And TAF signifies that.
All right, let's go to Columbus for a second, Alex. Put yourself in that defensive huddle, and they've got Arch Manning coming in. I mean, it's only human nature, right? To have a guy. I mean, put yourself in their position. I mean, what is the mindset going in for their shot at probably the most talked about player in college football? No fault of his own. He's not a self-promoter, just kind of the way it's worked out.
Yeah, and from the perspective of the Ohio State defense, like you're laying out there, they've heard the chirping about Arch Manning not only this offseason, but last year as well. This is the team that won the national championship, but over the course of the offseason, all we've been hearing is talk about Texas. How good can Texas be? How good can Arch Manning be? Is he going to come out this year? Is he going to stay for 2 seasons? The attention has been on us all offseason. So we best believe that Ohio State team, and specifically that defense, is going to have a chip on their shoulder. And they know all eyes will be watching. So they're going to try to put their best foot forward.
Yeah, I can only imagine what Caleb Downs is thinking about right now. Just because we talked with Arch earlier today on Monday. He has a ton of respect for Caleb Downs. He even said it. He's very complimentary of his game, said he was a really great football player. But at the same time, like we've been saying, like, all the national media's just been yakking about Arch, and would it be the same if his name was Arch Smith or Arch Jackson or whatever? Like, it's not. It's Arch Manning, and just that last name is gonna carry that kind of hype. But you have to imagine that the Buckeyes are chomping at the bit to really kind of get Manning's name out of the national media's mouth, and put Ohio State back in there where they're the defending champs, right? Like, they have to be the least talked about defending champ. There's no way for me to quantify that, but it's crazy to think about how much people aren't talking about Ohio State.
No, I'm right there with you. Ohio State, this game is going to trot out, not even this game, for the rest of the season, they're going to trot out the best player on offense and the best player on defense. And it's crazy to think that they haven't been recognized as such this offseason. The talk has been about Texas.
Yeah, you're talking about Downs, the safety,
yes,
and Jeremiah Smith,
yeah,
that beast with wide receiver. All right, let's flip it, Alex, because you've got Julian Sayin, highly regarded quarterback, gets named the starter. We talked about those edge guys at Texas. Yeah. What is their mindset going in, knowing that they got a guy that's probably going to, be a little bit nervous, hear some footsteps, and think that they can rattle him as well?
Yeah, and I think Colin Simmons already let the cat out the bag when he posted Julian Sayings on his social media account. As edge rushers, we love playing inexperienced quarterbacks because he's going to hold that ball a half second longer. He's going to have happy feet within the pocket. He's going to try to spin out and escape pressure when there might not even be pressure in his face. So we love playing young, inexperienced quarterbacks. But here's the caveat. We're just assuming that our rush defense is going to carry over from last year, and that might not be the case. We have a new interior defensive line this upcoming season between Alex January, Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, Murad Watson. We hit the portal hard in the middle of this interior defensive line, and we're expecting them to play to a standard that was set last year when they haven't proven that yet. Now, I think they can live up to that standard, but it needs to be proven on Saturday. And to answer your question, once we do stop the run, then that puts our edge rushers in a 3rd and long situation, and that's really all we're after as edge rushers. Put us in 3rd and 7, put us in 3rd and 8, so we can go out there and pin our ears back and eat.
It's probably no more in any other sport than college football, that old expression, if you know, you know, but I think they don't know because of the way preseason is built for college football compared to every other level at every other sport. I mean, how much of a sense did you get as a player that I think I know what we are, but until you line up against somebody else, you just don't know. And part of that are, the intangibles. How do teams react to what they perceive as a bad call, sudden change defense, big play on offense that suddenly the field position is switched. Just all those things that you can't predict is going to happen in a game.
Yeah, and that's the tough part about going through training camp. Like, you know what you know about going against our team. Like, I know how good I am going against the Texas offense. I don't know how good I'm going to be going against that Ohio State offense. Now, the good thing that works out for Texas is that we have so much depth and so much talent that whoever we're practicing against in training camp should be just as good, if not better, than any opponent we're playing. But there's still that little bit of inkling of unknown of, will what I'm putting on tape during training camp transfer over to week 1 against Ohio State? And ultimately, that's all we want to see.
So yeah, like we talk about the defense here. Let's kind of gently shift toward the offense. It's kind of that sort of, we could flip this around. Like this Texas offense has been going against the Texas defense for all training camp, and even Arch himself was like, finally, we get to go against somebody else for a change. Mm-hmm. But that somebody else is Ohio State, like we've been talking about. So I guess Roger, we'll go to you. I mean, if you're Arch Manning, like, would you rather play somebody else at this point? I mean, it's kind of like 6 one and half a dozen the other, right?
Well, I mean, Alex can speak to this better than me, but the tendencies. Yeah. Ohio State, Sark said it. We've run the play 1,000 times. You've practiced it 100 times. We should be ahead of you with this play. So, the Texas defense, but also the Texas defense knows the tendencies and things like that. So, Alex, I don't think there's any debate whether Texas is ready to face somebody else. But are they ready to run the ball? You kind of talked about the middle of the defensive line. How are they going to hold up? Mm-hmm. How's this offensive line going to hold up for Trey Wisner, C.J. Baxter, Jarrett Gibson, and let Arch do his thing as well with that threat of a run game?
Yeah, and that's an important question. Last year, our running back room was depleted. We were looking for bodies anywhere we could find them. This year, we're getting all of those guys back. We got a 1,000-yard rusher in Trey Wisner. We have the starting running back from 2 years ago in C.J. Baxter, who is a 5-star, top-of-the-line recruit. We have Christian Clark, who was making all types of noise in training camp last year, not to mention our short yardage guy with Jarrett Gibson. We want to see what all of these bodies can do. We want to see what type of weapons we have in that room, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to put that on display in week 1. Look, when you have a new signal caller, and I know Arch has been in the program 2 years, but this is the first season that he's getting to start the whole way through. He is a new signal caller for us. Let's take a little bit off his plate. I know he's experienced, but let's take some off his plate. And how do you do that? You do that by establishing the run, running early, getting 5 yards a pop on first down, giving us second and short situations, third and short situations. That allows the play-action pass game to open up, and we know Arch likes to take his shots deep when those opportunities present themselves. So I think the key to unlocking this offense is establishing the run game early. And you mentioned the offensive line and a little bit of inexperience and injury within the offensive line. What I like to see, though, on the flip side is that in the positions on the offensive line that matter the most, I'm talking about left tackle, I'm talking about the interior of the O-line, that's where we put our experience. That's where we have DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson, Trevor Gooseby at the left tackle. We're secure at the most important positions on that offensive line.
And Trevor Gooseby, he's been a little banged up in training camp, but Sarkisian today said that he was going to be a full go, and that's of utmost importance for this Longhorns offense because you gotta protect your guy back there, right? You don't want him trying to run for his life too much. Mm-hmm. But going back to sort of the running back situation, Alex, I mean, it's crazy to kind of fathom how fast C.J. Baxter has recovered from that knee injury that he suffered last training camp, and to have him back, by all accounts, from what we've heard from training camp, mm-hmm. he's basically the same guy he was before the knee injury. So I mean, just to have that sort of presence back there along with Trey, I mean, that's got to make Arch feel the warm and fuzzies inside, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to know that I have a 1-2 punch behind me that can get the job done. Going back to C.J. Baxter, I think Texas fans forget Jonathan Brooks, one of the best individual running back seasons we've had here at Texas. C.J. Baxter was starting over Jonathan Brooks at the beginning of that season. Not that that means anything, but it just gives you a glimpse of the type of talent that this player possesses. 5-star recruit, #1 running back out of Florida. If you see this dude in person, he's 6'2", 6'3", about 210, and moves well in space, can catch the football. I am excited to put this guy on display and unlock all the abilities that he possesses. And I think he's going to be a key contributor to this Texas offense this upcoming season.
And that's wild to think about, that he was starting over Jonathan Brooks. And given the year that Jonathan had,
crazy.
That's nuts.
I'm ready for a prediction, Alex. 'Cause
Oh,
here's a guy we haven't talked about. Here's a guy we haven't talked about.
Let's do it.
Jack Andrews.
Okay.
I think the tight end transfer from Cal is going to be Texas's leading receiver. Sark uses the tight end as well as any coach. We saw J.T. Sanders. We saw they didn't miss a beat with Gunnar Helm. I mean, this is a guy with that catch radius. He's big and long, and I think he's going to become not Arch Manning's best friend, but maybe his security blanket. Just speak to the ability of a team to have a tight end of that magnitude to add to all those other weapons.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. When you look at Steve Sarkisian coached offenses, the tight end position is what unlocks the whole thing. You need a threat. You need a pass-catching threat at the tight end position. Like you said, we had Jatavion Sanders 2 years ago, Gunnar Helm last year. Now who steps up and fills in that role? Jack Andrews. And when you just look at production from last year, he will actually, from a yardage perspective, be the most productive player we have from a pass catcher perspective. So that shows you what type of player he is. And now you're getting balls thrown from Arch Manning. You're getting a signal caller and a play caller from Steve Sarkisian. The sky is the limit for Jack Andrews. And honestly, he can play himself into an NFL draft pick if he has an outstanding season.
So I guess I'm not really going out on a limb saying Jack Andrews is going to be the lead receiver.
It's a limb to Texas fans just because his name is not a household name.
That's right.
Just yet.
Sure. All right, well, we'll start to wrap this up, but I do want to ask Alex, are you going to be able to go up to Columbus to the game, or are you going to watch the game here? Where does Alex Okafor watch such a big game like this?
Well, to me, the best seat in the house is on the couch, but I will be on Bevo Boulevard, which to me is the second best seat in the house. So I'll be on Bevo Boulevard working for KXAN Texas Game Day, and we'll be live and direct from Bevo Boulevard, making all the predictions, giving the inside scoop, giving a great breakdown, and ready for an amazing game.
And then you don't have to fight traffic after the game.
Absolutely.
Don't have to fight traffic at all. Right on. Okay, well, we could do this for hours and hours and hours, but we're all busy people. And you're busy people watching this too. So we'll wrap this Horns Report up here. Thank you so much for watching. For Roger Wallace, for Alex Okafor, I'm Billy Gates, and we will talk to you again very soon.